Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar entitled Welcome New Trade Allies to New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. I'd like to wish a good afternoon to everyone. Today's webinar is a welcome webinar for our new trade allies to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. Today's webinar is brought to you by the New Jersey Clean Energy Program and the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. My name is Jim Friedel, and I'm an outreach account manager for New Jersey's Clean Energy Program, and I'll be acting as the facilitator for today's event. First, I'd like to take care of a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to allow the presenter to go through the slides in their entirety, but throughout the presentation, please feel free to go ahead and type in your questions via the control panel on your screen. We'll address your questions at the end of the presentation. And if we don't get to your question live, we'll respond to you directly via email. All questions are recorded, so we can refer back to them later, and we have your email address as well. Speaking of presenters, today we are joined by Amanda Newman, who, like myself, is also an outreach account manager for TRC. She'll be providing some details on the programs, including some highlights from last year's fiscal year, in particulars about the energy efficiency programs that make up the Clean Energy Incentive Program portfolio. As a point of further introduction, or as many of you on the call may know, TRC administers New Jersey's Clean Energy Program on behalf of the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. Now, as I mentioned, again, today's webinar will be recorded, and the links to the recording will be provided once it is uploaded to the Clean Energy Learning Center website. Before we get with Amanda's presentation, we just like to say that we understand what a challenging time this is for everyone, especially for businesses. We want to emphasize that New Jersey's Clean Energy Program is doing everything it can to support you during this period and through the recovery. Please know that, as always, outreach account managers, program staff, case managers are all available to you to answer your questions. As all of you can appreciate, things are changing day by day and minute by minute. We may not have all of the answers, but we'll do our best to get you the latest information. So with that, I would like to turn over the presentation to Amanda. Amanda, once you receive this, please take control and take us through.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much for that introduction. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Amanda Newman. I'm an outreach account manager for New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. Some of you may know my name from the e-blasts that we send. We've been doing that every couple of months. And then recently, we've been sending an email out every week to our trade allies, ones that have been existing in the program for a while, and new trade allies as well. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to get into the background of New Jersey's Clean Energy Program and move through our portfolio of programs. So the New Jersey Clean Energy Program is administered by the Board of Public Utilities, the Division of Clean Energy. And the way that this program is funded is through a societal benefits charge on a utility bill. And that's a very small amount on a utility bill. So if you pay into an electric or gas bill or some sort of utility bill in the state of New Jersey, you pay into this program. And our program goals are to educate, change behavior, provide opportunity for all New Jersey residents to reduce energy and lower operating costs, to protect the environment and lower emissions, and meet the governor's goal of 100% clean energy by 2050. Our programs meet these goals through customer education, energy conservation, energy efficiency, distributed energy resources, and renewable energy. And now I'm just going to go over some program highlights from the last fiscal year. So in FY19, there were over 131,000 applications processed, and energy savings are delivered through electric, gas, oil, and other efficiencies in generation. And in the last fiscal year, there were over $136 million of incentives paid. And we bring real-world results. So the clean energy programs eliminated enough CO2 to equate to over 96,000 cars removed off the road, over 7 million street trees planted, and over 450,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases eliminated. And this is the New Jersey Clean Energy Program portfolio of all of the programs that we administer. So we have renewable energy, and I'm going to talk about just a very high overview of our SREC program and community solar. Specialized energy efficiency, where I'll discuss community energy grants. The commercial and industrial, as well as the distributed energy resources, I'm going to focus on these two pillars quite a bit in our presentation here today. And then we also have residential programs with new construction, existing home programs, and energy efficient products such as energy efficient refrigerators. The residential program also has trade allies as well. So right now I'll talk about renewable energy and go into the SREC program just a little bit. So when solar is installed, they register the system and receive solar renewable energy certifications that they then can sell and get funds for as the system produces energy. This is being transitioned into the transition incentive program. And this is because the market has reached 5.1% of solar. So the TRECs are not yet live, but they are coming soon. So if you have questions around the SREC and the TREC programs, I am more than happy to put you in touch with the person at the Board of Public Utilities who administers this program. And now I'm just going to touch on community solar. So what is it? It's a larger remotely located solar array or facility that is virtually divided among multiple participants, which are known as subscribers, by the means of a credit on their utility bill. And the community solar is not currently accepting additional applications, but a new window to submit applications is going to be announced soon. And this is a really great way for people who don't have solar to get involved in solar and receive that on their utility bill from clean energy. And there's also a bunch of ways that people can get involved in community solar, from the subscriber to the installer. So again, if you have specific questions around the community solar program, I'm more than happy to connect you with the person at the Board of Public Utilities who administers this program. And now I'm going to talk about community energy plan grants. So what is this? It's localizing the energy master plan goals in a variety of ways, with energy use, transportation planning, land use, water management, and waste management. And the way that this is done is a community will create a task force, and that could be from residents to businesses to local governments, and identify the areas of improvement for their community. And then they build a plan and send to the Board of Public Utilities, which is then granted, and then they can start work on their energy efficient project for their entire community. So this is a really wonderful way for people in the community to come together and build an energy efficient community and world for themselves. And now I'm going to go into the commercial and industrial portfolio of programs. And commercial industrial is the category of incentives that we give out to businesses of all sizes, as well as nonprofits, just so everyone is aware of what CNI is. I'm going to go into measurements and audits, comprehensive programs, single measure rebate programs, and distributed energy resources as well. And before I dive into these pillars separately, I do want to note something very important that's on this slide. At the bottom, you can see the FY20 enhanced incentives to buildings. So if a project lands in an urban enterprise zone or opportunity zone, a local government, or is owned or operated by a K-12 public school, these zones and these projects are applicable for enhanced incentives, which the Board of Public Utilities announced at the beginning of our fiscal year. So this is really wonderful for these people who can take advantage of enhanced incentives from doing energy efficient projects. And where you can find if a project is located in an urban enterprise zone or opportunity zone is when you go to our website, you can search enhanced rebates announced. And you can also see on every Smart Start Buildings application, there is a place where it says New Jersey Community Asset Map. If you click that, it shows a map of New Jersey, and it'll give you the shaded areas of where is in an urban enterprise zone or opportunity zone. All you need to do is put in the address of the facility. So if anyone has questions around this, my information's at the end of this PowerPoint, but please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk you through finding out if a project that you're working on is in an urban enterprise zone or opportunity zone. So now I'm going to talk about benchmarking. Benchmarking is for commercial, industrial, agricultural, government, 501c3 nonprofits, and institutional entities. And benchmarking is completely free. And what it does, it's going to flag and identify how much money a person is spending or overspending in their facility. One of the great things about benchmarking is that it compares your building to other buildings nationally. And what it is, it's an Energy Star portfolio manager that shows where you are using a lot of energy in a building and where you could take next steps and improve. So that's one of the great things about this program, is that it allows you to see what other energy efficient programs through NJCEP you can be applicable for. So here are some graphics that come with the energy benchmarking, the energy consumption and costs, and you can see it in a couple different ways here. Benchmarking also gives you a score of how well your facility is doing. So it's number 1 through 100. It's pretty self-explanatory. Nonetheless, there always can be work to be done. So that's one of the great things about this program, is that it shows you which programs are applicable to move forward with and continue a project or get involved in a project. And it shows you how much you're using for gas and electric. And it also shows you the graph on the right, how much you're using, what's a high demand, what's a peak, and what's kind of plateaued in your energy use throughout the year. Our local government energy audit. This is for local governments, New Jersey colleges and universities, 501c3 nonprofit buildings with an average yearly demand of over 200 kW. This includes a benchmarking as well. So this is really great for applicants who just don't know what to do in their energy efficient project. They don't know where to start. And this is a really great way to learn how they can start, because it's an inventory of all energy consuming equipment line by line with program eligibility, savings, and costs. It goes through 14 months of utility data, of consecutive utility data. And then there's a feasibility for solar and combined heat and power. So schools and municipalities really like this program. And once all of the audit is completed, there's an energy audit report where an account manager, the auditor, the folks who were putting together the application get together and go through the findings that the auditor has in front of them through the report. So it's a step-by-step process, a line-by-line process, if the applicant wishes to do so like that. And then we move forward and talk about programs that they're applicable for. And it's their project, so we want to support them in what they want in their project. And now I'm going to talk about comprehensive programs. So I'm going to start with our large energy users program. This is for large commercial and industrial entities who have paid a minimum of $200,000 in New Jersey Clean Energy Program funds through the SBC in the previous 12 months of utility bills. And the average peak demand is, of all the facilities submitted, is over 400 kilowatts or 4,000 decatherms. So this is a program that encourages large commercial and industrial utility customers to self-invest in energy efficiency, combined heat and power, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation, and fuel cell projects. This is for very, very large entities, and we don't have a ton of applications that come into this program because it's for huge, huge entities. And this is the way that the large energy program or users program works. So there's the program enrollment, there's a submission of a draft energy efficient plan. That submission of the final draft energy efficient plan, the customer will work with a contractor to get that all straightened out. And then there's the confirmation of installation, which is where the incentives are paid. And just here's a success story. So a pharmaceutical entity in New Jersey went through this program and they did HVAC control upgrades. The total project cost was almost $500,000. The incentive was over $300,000, annual savings $134,000, and the payback period was a little bit over a year. Pay for performance. This is also for large commercial and industrial, existing buildings or new construction projects seeking 2 or more energy efficient measures with a minimum of 15% savings. So this program, the name is in the program, Pay for Performance. We pay you for the performance of your facility once you go through this project. The annual peak demand is 200 kW in the previous year for existing buildings, and if it's a new construction project, it has to be over 50,000 square feet. And a pre-approved participating partner will streamline the program and guide users through the program phases. So we have a list or 2 lists of participating partners who are with this program. One is for existing buildings, and then the other list is for new construction. So the applicant can choose the contractor or the engineer that they want to work with through this project through one of those lists. And the incentive cap is 50% of the project cost or 80% for if you're in one of those enhanced zones. $2 million per project, $4 million per entity annually. And then the second and third incentive are enhanced if you are in one of those enhanced zones. So this is how the program works. There's the program enrollment. And then the applicant and the participating partner will work through the energy reduction plan. And once that's approved, there's a fixed incentive that the applicant or the contractor will receive. And that's a fixed cost based on square footage. And then the installation and the installation verification report comes out. That's when the second incentive is given out. And if you're in one of those enhanced zones, it's up to 40% of the project cost. If you're not in one of those zones, then it's up to 25%. And then you see that there's a gap between the installation verification report and 1 year for the verification of savings. So like I said earlier, we pay you for your performance. So we want to make sure that what you came up with in your energy reduction plan is what's happening with your facilities now after you've done the energy efficient project. And again, that's a third incentive of up to 25%. And if you're in one of those enhanced zones, it's up to 40%. So Crestberry Apartments, it's a multifamily building. They went through our pay for performance and it was an existing building. They did lighting upgrades, boiler replacement, double pane windows, HVAC controls, air seals, and attic insulation. The total project was over $1 million. The paid incentive was over $300,000 with an annual savings of $215,000. And the project payback was just over 5 years. Our direct install program, this is to small to medium-sized commercial and industrial existing facilities seeking to replace inefficient equipment. The average annual peak is less than 200 kW in the previous 12 months. So as you can see, this is for smaller, like I said, smaller facilities. And one thing that's different about this from say P4P is that this is a fast turnkey process. It's a fast turnaround time. It takes about 4 to 6 months with this project. And something great about this is also there is a pre-approved regional participating contractor that does a walkthrough of the facility, an evaluation, and guides users through the program phases. So there are participating contractors around New Jersey, and they are territorial. So wherever that project lands, that's the participating contractor that applicant is going to work with. So it's a very streamlined process once the applicant gets into the program. And then there's an incentive cap of $125,000 per project per building and $250,000 if you're in one of those enhanced zones. And you can see here that 70% of the installed cost is paid directly to the contractor if you are not in one of those enhanced zones. If you are in one of those enhanced zones, then it's up to 80% of the project cost that's covered, and the customer only pays 20% of the installed cost, which is really great. This is one of our most lucrative programs, and even up to 70% is still a really good chunk. So the fact that it's 80% is even better. Jaeger Lumber Supply, this is a hardware and lumber store. They did LED lighting upgrades, HVAC upgrades, programmable thermostats, water conservation, and the total project cost was $33,000 or a bit over. The incentive was over $23,000. The annual savings was a little over $7,000, and the payback period was just under 1.5 years. And again, this only took roughly 4 to 6 months, and the payback period was 1.5 years. So that's pretty great. Customer Tailor Energy Efficiency Pilot. So for those of you who are listening right now, you might have heard of our Customer Tailor Energy Efficiency Pilot. And just because it's a little bit of a tongue twister, I'm going to say CTIP for short. This is for commercial and industrial customers seeking a streamlined or single application for participants submitting for multiple different technology types. So what that means is that if a customer or an applicant wants to do multiple prescriptive measures, maybe they want to throw a custom measure in there, this would only require one application for the different technology types. There's on-site assistance available, and it also utilizes additional technical assistance to offset project costs associated with developing and planning custom projects. To keep in mind for the CTIP program, this has the same incentive value as Smart Start, which I will talk about a little bit in a couple of minutes, but that's just also something to keep in mind, that they have the same incentive value. And then there's up to $10,000 for technical assistance of custom project evaluation. So somebody would work with an engineer to build that custom equipment, and that would have to get pre-approval. So this is how you get paid on CTIP. I won't spend too much time on this, but as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. When you use the technical assistance, obviously that energy efficiency plan has to be approved, the installation has to be completed, and then there's a performance verification if you use those custom measures. So a university in New Jersey went through our CTIP program for various buildings, and this was just for prescriptive measures. So they did LED lighting and lighting controls. The project cost was over $600,000. The committed incentive was over $121,000. Annual savings over $104,000. And the payback period was just under 5 years. So you think about a university that's been there probably for, if not 100 years, maybe a little less. 5 years on a project is not a long time. And now I'm going to get into single measure rebates. The Smart Start Buildings program. This is for all commercial, industrial, agricultural, government, nonprofit, and institutional customers. For the trade allies listening today, this will probably be the most applicable program for you. Many of our trade allies use the Smart Start Buildings program and do a lot of projects in the Smart Start Buildings program. So this is for individual high efficiency equipment rebates for new construction, renovation, remodeling, and equipment replacement. Just like CTIP, there's also prescriptive and design custom measures. So if anyone on the line has been with Jersey's Clean Energy program a little bit, this will be something new for you to learn, that there is no pre-approval on lighting projects that are less than $100,000. And the Board of Public Utilities made that change with this new fiscal year. So there's only pre-approval required for lighting projects with an incentive of over $100,000, as well as all custom measures. So all custom measures still need that pre-approval. And then the incentive cap for prescriptive measures are $500,000 for each electric or gas account. And then the customs is the lesser of the following below. And here are a list of some prescriptive incentives: lighting and lighting controls, packaged HVAC, boilers and water heaters, chillers, etc. And the rebate for these prescriptive measures are doubled if the project lands in an enhanced zone. So that's also something really great to keep in mind when working with customers, is that you can mention that to them, and that's very appealing to a lot of people, especially if they are in that zone. So this is really great for you, just to really know that there are enhanced incentives available for you and your work that you're doing right now, and it will be in the future. Custom incentives, again, newer innovative technologies proven to be cost effective and not listed as prescriptive. So again, it needs to go through a pre-approval process. Ocean County College, they did lighting upgrades as well as exterior LED wall packs. The total project cost was over $7,000. The incentive was $6,000. The annual savings was over $6,000 and the project payback was 3 months. This is really wonderful because there can be a lot of savings in lighting as well as other measures such as HVAC, boilers if they're at their limit, etc. So we get a lot of lighting projects and we also get a lot of like HVACs and other sorts of projects that come in with the Smart Start Buildings program. And again, my information is at the end of this presentation, but I just want to stress that if you have questions after the presentation, during the presentation, please let us know. I'm more than happy to go through the questions with you. And now I'm going to talk about distributed energy resources. Combined heat and power and fuel cells. So this is for commercial and industrial customers that require on-site electric generation that do or do not utilize waste heat. And projects must pass a cost effectiveness test that run 5,000 full load equivalent hours per year. So this is for projects that are constantly running. So if you have very specific questions around combined heat and power and fuel cells, I am more than happy to put you in contact with one of our engineers who work directly with this program. One of the great things about this program is that there's resiliency with this program to continue that production of the facility. Please let me know if you have very specific questions around this. I'm more than happy to put you in touch with one of our engineers on the C&I side. This is just how the whole process works. This is for eligible technology, the size, the incentive. And acute care management services, this is a medical support facility. They went through a CHP project and the whole project cost estimated was about a little over $2 million. The incentive was $690,000. The estimated annual cost savings was almost $700,000 on the first year, with an average annual cost savings of $690,000 afterwards. And the payback period was just under 2 years. Microgrids. This is part of New Jersey's effort to provide a resilient grid, and it's to look at projects that can qualify for microgrids. So if you have very specific questions around microgrids, the Board of Public Utilities is working on this microgrid program. I am happy to connect you with the person at the Board of Public Utilities who is doing this resiliency work. Also with energy storage, this is also an interest for the Board of Public Utilities. It's the commitment for resiliency, and I'm happy to connect you with the person who can provide you details on this program. And electric vehicles. So now electric vehicles are included in the state purchasing contract. And if you go to our homepage on njcep.com, there is a resource for you talking about electric vehicles. And the BPU is the best resource for this program. As you can see, there's an email at the bottom of the page. If you want to ask me and have you connected with the BPU, that's completely fine. We just want you to know that these are available for you to know about. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have very specific questions around microgrids, around EVs, or around battery storage. You can email the person that's on this email address below. If you want to contact me directly, that's also okay, but I'm more than happy to connect you with the person at the Board of Public Utilities who is working on the electric vehicle program. And now financing for government agencies. So we're going to talk about ESIP. It's called an Energy Savings Improvement Program. It provides alternative financing for energy savings project at public institutions. So municipalities really take advantage of ESIP. School districts take advantage of ESIP. And this is really great for them because it's an investment that is getting paid back with their energy savings. So the value of energy savings leverage to pay for the energy efficiency projects are over a 15-year contract. So everything that is getting saved within that month just goes back into paying that 15-year loan. There's no new bonding and is outside of the capital budget and does not count as debt or require voter approval. So as you can see, one really great thing to keep in mind as a trade ally for ESIP is that there is a hybrid way to do this or a DIY way to do this. So the applicant will need to select a path. They can work with an energy savings company to do the project that requires an RFP. Or they can also do a DIY, which is work with their own contractor, their own architect who they've been working with perhaps, or they know very well. Or they can do a hybrid of the two. So they can combine these two. So the contractor or architect that they work with, they have worked with, or they have a good relationship with in the past, can work with the energy savings company to make sure that all the ducks are in a row. So this is just something really great for you to keep in mind if an ESIP project does pop into your lap. What can you provide if it is a DIY or if it is a hybrid project? It's just something for you to just know about. So more information, before I get into more information, please feel free to ask some questions in the question box, and we'll take a couple of minutes so you guys can do that, as well as I'm going to go over some of the additional resources for you to take advantage of while you put your questions into the question box. So the Clean Energy Learning Center. This is an online educational tool. This is the website on the top of the page. This is really good for just getting more familiar with New Jersey's clean energy program. And if you have any questions on how to find it, again, there's the website, but please feel free to reach out to me. This is one of our most used tools. And also there's upcoming webinars happening. So Jim mentioned at the beginning of this webinar that there's a lot of stuff going on right now and we want to be here to support you. So we've started a series of educational webinars. If you haven't gotten an e-blast from me, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to put you onto that e-blast. Nonetheless, you should be on it. If you haven't gotten it, maybe it went to your spam, check your spam. But again, please reach out to me if you haven't gotten it, if you want it to be put back onto your radar. I am more than happy to re-add you if necessary to those e-blasts, but keep a lookout for them. And this is my contact information. Please screenshot it, write it down. If you have questions ever in the future, I am more than happy to hop on a call with you and go over anything that you need. This is my work cell phone number, so please feel free to do that. And one last thing, join our newsletter and our listservs. This also gives you a wealth of information on how to stay connected with us and just new things that are happening weekly or monthly on New Jersey's Clean Energy Program. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. So I'm just going to leave my information right there. And Jim, do we have any questions coming in?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. We do have some questions. I think I'm going to kind of go from the earliest questions to the more recent, just because it'll kind of flow through the presentation as well. One of the first ones had to do with LGEA. Can we have an audit performed while the building is empty? And this is from a school.
Oh,
can I have a little more detail on this if you'd like me to kind of run with this one, Amanda?
Yeah, that would be great. Oh, I'm guessing they mean right now during this time, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
and in terms of the program, and Amanda had mentioned that it's kind of a multi-phase program, if you will. In other words, there's a kickoff call where we engage with school or municipality. We understand what the site looks like or how many buildings are included. There's an application process, and we can get started on project or on an audit going through the application because you have to submit bills, 14 months of bills, a detailed Excel spreadsheet that provides information about the facility. So everything can get started. And right now, we're in the process of, I believe, testing what we're calling a virtual audit until such time that full access is granted again to facilities. We are going through a process that kind of gauges the client's ability to perform that virtual audit and then go through what that would look like. What does the planning look like? And then actually conduct that virtual audit where facility manager or staff member that can access the building can go through, take pictures of date plates and information about lighting. So it's something that we're testing right now. And as that becomes more crystallized and formalized, we'll have more information on the website regarding that.
Great, thank you.
Sure, another question. Can a customer use a P4P, so use the P4P program at the same time as direct install or smart start if they have qualifying projects for each. So I think what they're asking is if they have multiple facilities or multiple buildings, they qualify for different programs, can they utilize those at the same time?
Oh, yeah. So if you have, say, a few different buildings from one entity and one building qualifies for P4P, yes, you can go through P4P for that building. Say you have a smaller building that doesn't qualify for P4P, it's not going to be a 2 to 3 year project, which P4P usually takes on average, and it's just to replace inefficient equipment, then you can go through one of our other programs. Something to keep in mind, you can't do something called double dipping, which is using two programs in one project. So for example, if you are going through direct install, let's say, and direct install doesn't qualify lighting because you just did your lighting, you wouldn't be able to go through Smart Start. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to represent this. Essentially, we're trying to prevent is the fact that you go through one program and then simultaneously submit applications for another to get additional incentives. So it's as the facilities qualify, you can participate in multiple programs. I think the only other thing that you need to kind of keep a lookout for, although for the most part it doesn't come up, is the entity cap of $4 million. So you can't surpass that by using, as you go through multiple programs.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's see, we have another P4P question. What kind of measures can be put into a P4P energy reduction plan? They go on and say, does this include, for instance, windows, other building improvements, insulation, that sort of thing?
Jim, if you want to jump in here, I know that
Sure.
we don't give incentives for windows in a P4P project. There could, yeah, if you don't mind jumping in.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that as Amanda described the P4P program, because it's based on performance, we're looking at any and all sorts of measures that will get you or that entity to that 15% reduction. So we may not have prescriptive incentives for things like windows or wall insulation or other things that may be handled in a custom application, but in P4P, yes, we're looking at any and all sorts of measures that can get that facility to that 15% mark or 5% of its new construction. I think that's the direction of the question. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, and also just to go off that with ESIP, with an ESIP project, you also can put many things into a bucket. So because it's a very all-encompassing project, the person could do windows, they could put in a new roof if they wanted to, they could essentially put in all of their wish list into this bucket through an energy savings improvement program as well.
Okay, we're moving into direct install. Question, in direct install, can we do only lighting or do we have to do lighting and HVAC? So is it, can I do just lighting or does it have to be a multiple measure kind of project?
That's a really good question. Yeah, the incentives can not only be from lighting, it has to be multiple other measures to go through direct install. If you just wanted to do a lighting project, that would be Smart Start, for example, but direct install, the incentive savings or the savings and the incentive cannot just be from lighting. It has to be a few different measures.
Okay. See, there's a question here. This is in regards to applications. Are you still accepting applications while my business is currently closed due to the pandemic?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We are here to support you and your energy efficient project. So absolutely, we still are taking applications. This might be a really good time for you to sit down and do a bunch of paperwork or work with someone online who wants to help you with the application process. If you're not a contractor, if you are a contractor, this might be a really good time for you to get all of that paperwork in because it can be extensive at some points in time. And we're more than happy to help you through that application process if you have questions. But yes, you still can send in applications. Those portals are not closed.
Okay. Question regarding payment. The question just is, approximately how long does it take to get paid once I have an application submitted?
Good question. So once the application is submitted, it takes roughly 3 weeks or so for it to get assigned to a case manager through Smart Start Buildings. And once that application is then approved, it takes roughly 60 to 75 days for you to receive payment.
Someone had asked, this is an earlier question that I actually missed. If I have an energy portfolio manager already in place, can that be used with LGEA?
Interesting question. I'm curious when you did that, because if you're thinking about doing an LGA, say you went through your benchmarking tool and you haven't looked at it in a few months, there could be different levels of findings if you went through an LGA now and they did the benchmarking component. I still think that you would still have to do the benchmarking report. Jim, maybe you want to jump in if you have concrete answer.
Sure. In terms of the energy portfolio manager, if that has been maintained, because the idea there is that once it's established, information can be entered, and so you can get an up-to-date understanding of what's going on in your building. If it's up to date, I believe that the LGEA team will ask you for sign-on information, login information, and I think the preference is to utilize that edition or that version of Portfolio Manager. So they may still, as part of the LGEA, do an update on benchmarking, but if it's available and you can get them that login and sign-in information, they'll be happy to use that.
Yeah, and it's great that you're already using benchmarking.
Question on entity cap. We may have answered this, but I'll ask it again. Is an entity cap inclusive of all programs, or is it per program?
So each program has a different entity cap. So it depends on what program you're talking about. So each program has its own cap. I'm not sure.
Right, I think yes. The question is, so yes, each program itself does have caps in place for that program. And Amanda, you mentioned a number of them as you went through the different program slides. The entity cap then is that overall, in terms of incentives, how much can an entity receive annually? And that's that 4 million cap that Amanda had mentioned in a couple of different instances. So it is all inclusive rather than per program. Okay, I think that's just about all of the questions that came in. Again, if we missed it, we do have your email address and we will reach out to you directly. On your screen, you still have Amanda's contact information, both phone number and email. And we do encourage you to go and visit the Clean Energy website. Don't be intimidated by it. There's a lot of information there. And if you need help in navigating that, Amanda is more than familiar with that site now and can help you get through to the information that you need.
Oh, I was also going to say that we'll also have a copy of this PowerPoint. So be on the lookout for the copy of the PowerPoint to be on our Clean Energy Learning Center, as well as the recording. We're working on getting that updated to the Learning Center.
Absolutely. So I guess with that, I'd like to thank our presenter today, Amanda Newman. Thank you for your great work in presenting the overall programs. And again, if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Amanda. And if she doesn't have the answer, there are numerous resources that she can access, and we'll get you direction. So thanks again, everyone. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude the webinar. Everyone have a great day.
Great, thank you.